Anybody else?
Louis, the marker there that you showed, was it Johnston? Mm-hmm. Is that a family member?
No, I just picked one. That was from North Carolina. I had a few. I found out a relative of mine that did serve in World War II that I did not know about, who was killed in, I think it was in Belgium. I found out his documents at one of the buildings. You could look up soldiers. I looked Swicegood up and I found one guy I did not know. I did have a relative who served in the Pacific on an aircraft carrier called the USS Enterprise. I'm sure anybody who knows a lot about World War II would know about that ship. It served in a lot of engagements during the war.
The bridge that he was on, where the bullets were, Louis, what bridge was that?
That was Pegasus Bridge, where like I said, the gliders that flew in, they managed to secure that bridge. They landed right on top of it. They couldn't have been more spot on, perfect as where they landed. They were probably the most. They were the ones who got the most accurate on their drop zones because they were right on top of it. The moment they got there, they attacked the bridge. I think only one man was killed during the attack. The Germans just ran away, but they managed to secure the bridge. There were no detonators on it, like in the movie. Has anybody ever heard of The Longest Day, the movie? In the movie that they sent a guy underneath the bridge to tear the detonators off, there were no detonators on the bridge. They never had time to set them up. And they secured the bridge, and eventually the British armor caught up and went through that bridge. The reason they took it was so they could get to Caen faster, but it took them months to secure that town because the Germans did not want to let them have it.
Louis, your video footage there at the end of the beach, where exactly is that?
The beach?
That's Normandy, I'm assuming. Mm-hmm. Or which section of that would that be?
That was the American section.
That was Utah.
Utah. Okay.
And that was Charlie Cozart's picture in the sand. Dade County native.
And at Utah Beach, that actually, when we landed at Utah, we were actually at the wrong beach. The guy in charge of the Americans there was actually related to one of our presidents, Roosevelt. He was related to Teddy Roosevelt. He was also related to Franklin Roosevelt. He made a famous quote that honestly I can't tell you if he actually said it or not because it's kind of shrouded in mystery. But he said, "We'll start the war from here." And he died before the war of a heart attack, I think, because he had heart problems. He had a bit of.
Buried there too.
Mm-hmm. He's buried there too. He got awarded the Medal of Honor, which is the highest award that an American can give a soldier. Normandy's beaches consist of, especially Point de Hoc was a big example with bluffs. Basically, there's a little beach in some areas, and then there's a rise, which meant that the Germans had a really big defensive area. Now, in some areas, it's flatter. The British sector was a lot flatter than the American sector. The Americans had to chug uphill. That's why there was more casualties for the Americans, especially at Omaha. Omaha Beach was extremely well guarded by the Germans. When we had landed, we suspected them to have only a few regiments of regular German troops. They actually had a SS division over there, and they were loaded up with MG-42s, machine guns, anti-tank weapons. Originally, we were supposed to have 29 tanks hit the beach. Of the 29, I think about 3 made it ashore, and they were quickly destroyed by the anti-tank batteries. That's why we lost so many men, because we didn't get the tanks ashore. The ducks, as they were called, because they were designed to float. They sunk in the bad weather. Any other questions?
You mentioned the Battle of the Bulge. That was the biggest battle that the United States Army fought in World War II.
It was. I mean,
We lost 19,000 men and about 50 or 60,000 wounded.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel dedicated when they come off.
It was a really big engagement because it was Hitler's last chance to win the war. So he threw everything he had at him, and he was extremely beaten. Eisenhower quoted that the Germans come out of their defensive positions, so it actually it could have been worse as far as if we had attacked the German line. Hitler came out of with his tanks, ran out of gas. At that point of the war, his tanks were out of gas. His air force was diminished to only a few planes, and what few he had, he couldn't get off the ground because they didn't have enough gas for him. So that was his last gamble. And by the time it was over, around January, he had about 100 days left to live before he killed himself. Any other questions?
I can tell you have a vast knowledge of this. My son, he is, I guess, in 4th grade, and he likes a lot of the wars and likes studying about the wars and whatnot. Where did you gain most of your knowledge? And is it just through books, through reading, how did you gain most of your knowledge?
When I started studying World War II, I honestly can't remember the exact date of when I started. I just got interested in one day, but I mostly got what I learned through books, and the fact that I had a friend of mine who was in World War II, Frank Couch, who just recently passed away. Good, very nice guy, who got wounded in Normandy, and that also piqued my interest a bit. It's just something I got into, I guess. I mean,
Is there like a certain book for someone like, elementary school or something that would really, that you feel like?
well, I mean, as far as the eyewitness books, I mean, that'd be a little too old for him, in my opinion. I mean, whatever you think is right. But there's some, like, young books for a kid his age that could get his interest in it. I don't have any more. I might have some you could borrow. I could check if you ever want to look at them. But World War II is, especially the Holocaust, that's a delicate subject you want to touch up on before you throw somebody into that.
Very good.
Thank you.